Good morning, friends. Hello, hello. How are you this morning? Good morning. In this new year, good morning, John. Hey, I'm curious how the audio sounds this morning. We're making some tech changes here over the break, and curious to see how things sound. So if anybody could give me a sound check, that'd be awesome. Good morning, everybody. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Rosalia. I pray you are well and that this season is brings you blessings and joy. Ah, yes. Coffee and a pine tree. Girl after my own heart, right there. That's all the things that are good in the world. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Glad you're here. Hi, Irene. Good morning. Glad you're here. Hope all things are well in your world. All right. Good morning, friends. We are back. It is 2023. It is the third day of the new year on this Tuesday at 11:11. And I am glad that you're here. I'm glad you're with us. And I'm glad you're a part of our little tribe here of making our way through the world into a new year. It is a joy that to have each one of you with us, and whether you are here with me live as Irene and Rosalia and John, or whether you are a part of our wider diaspora catching us later, it is all good and great that you might be a part of this moment with us. So it is. I hope and pray each one of you have had a great new year. That truly you are able to see and to know this as a time that's something coming into being in this new year. Because I find that New Year's can actually be this place that there's a temptation in them in a way. There's a thing we can fall into that we can, and there's a bit of a spiritual term for it. It's called languishing. You know, if you've ever, I'm a sailor, and so if you ever considered sailing when you're kind of moving on one tack and the wind is blowing into your sails and you're moving on one tack, and then the job is to come across the wind and to take up another tack, and that I think New Year's can feel a little like tacking sometimes. That even though it's just a moment on a calendar, there's with all of the celebrations of the season, with all of the time off or time away, or just the disruption of our rhythms of the day, that they actually find that we end up tacking in this time. And one of the things that can happen in sailing when you end up tacking is that you can get stuck in what is called irons, which is this point of when you are coming across the wind that you don't quite have enough speed to get all the way across the wind, and so you end up with your boat pointed into the wind with sails flapping and kind of moving slowly backwards and kind of being trapped. And so you have to and then you have to kind of fall off and maybe go back to the old tack and get some more speed to try and bring over. But it's kind of a miserable place to be when you're sailing. It's not what you shoot for. It's a thing that happens. And I think that the new year can, even though it's filled with promise and we like to, lift up champagne and we fill it with light and we fill it with parties and light and all that. And the reason we do that is because there's a temptation, I think, in it. There's a challenge in what can happen is we can languish a little bit. We can get caught in irons in our sailing. Because the thing about the new year turning is that it challenges and makes us wonder maybe a bit, makes us unsure of the things in which we are pointed toward and the hopes in which we have. Because one thing we're doing is we're saying goodbye to a year that ultimately, even if we had a great year, even if it was a wonderful year, we are putting another mile astern of us. We are putting another part of our lives and our sea that we will never see again into the abyss of history. And so that there's almost a little bit of sadness and there's a disorientation that inherently comes with it. And that the invitation is that we might come and take up a new tack for our new year, right? Like we make New Year's resolutions, we make new hopes, we make new dreams. That again and again and again, it's this notion that we might step into something greater than what we are. But the temptation of right around now, right around the beginning of the year, is that we can languish. We can think about those pounds that we put on, kind of partying away. We can think about the way the landscape doesn't kind of match what we want it to be. We can think about the struggles of our lives and of our world, and we can worry, and we can kind of get stuck kind of in the irons of life. And so I want to invite you to, I want us to look at there's a section from Proverbs today, because, I mean, we don't spend enough time in Proverbs. We don't. It's just such good, practical, spiritual wisdom. It's just smart. And this is from Proverbs 23:18. And it's this teaching. It says, "There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off." There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. If we find ourselves in this little languishing place, in this little place of irons where we're neither on one tack nor another, we need to remember that God did not bring us to this point. God did not bring us to this place in life to just let us languish, to just let us kind of lay down and to abandon us, to say, I got you this far, I got you across the sea of reeds, I got you out into the desert, I got you through the encounter with the giants, I got you through so many different things of your life, I got you through great griefs, I got you through great triumphs, all of it, just to kind of abandon you in 2023, just to say, ha, sake, like I got you all the way out here just to let it all go to hell for you. Well, hell, it's in the Bible, I can say it. There's a way in which there's when we languish, like we can languish in this opening time. You know, that's why we always put so much emphasis on the glitz and the glamour and the shiny of the new year is a way of not recognizing the fact that we might languish in this place, of not take up our new tack, of kind of fall in a hole. And so I want to name it today. I want to remind us that there is a hope for you, and that that hope isn't going to be cut off, and that when one of the greatest leaders ever, I probably told you this story before, but I want to tell it again. One of the greatest leaders ever, a guy by the name of Ernest Shackleton, led an expedition to the South Pole that never even made it to the South Pole. They got iced in on their way there. Their ship was crushed, and he ended up putting his crew ashore. They had to walk across the ice to find a little piece of that they could place that they could hole up in. he and a few other guys got in a boat, sailed 1,000 miles across open water in the Arctic to make it to the wrong side of an island, hiked over a mountain range, and hiking over a mountain range to get to a whaling station on the other side, found a bunch of people there at the whaling station that would then go back and sail back and rescue his crew and his cat. Ernest Shackleton lost no one on the expedition. Everyone survived. Everyone came home, even though it was one of the most ill-fated kind of voyages that was ever created. And it was really due to his leadership. And Shackleton says this about it. He says, as soon as a mark goes to ground, the job of the leader is to pick up a new one, which means if we've been on this tack, and I don't know what the tack was for you in 2022, maybe you don't even know, but if you had a direction of going, there's a way in which something kind of is shifting, something's coming anew, some new tack has to be brought. And if your mark, and that the mark that you've been pointing at, if that has gone to ground in this time, if you're in this place, if you're in irons, if you're languishing a bit, the first job is to pick up a new one. It doesn't even have to be the right one, but it's to pick up a new thing and a new way to go. Because the promise of Proverbs is real. There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. We think we have to hold our hope, but what we forget is that actually God's holding our hope for us. And it's ours to simply plug into. It's ours to simply open our eyes to. It's ours to pick up a new mark so that we might receive and step into the hope that God has for us. And that for our future and that for our connection, that it will never be cut off. Not in this life and not in the next. That the entire adventure of the next life is to be drawn into future connection, drawn into future hope, drawn into future usefulness. That this is actually a process and an interest that goes on for eternity. That's the amazing part about this. So my invitation is that I hope you'll take up a page out of Ernest Shackleton's book and maybe hear this proverb anew, that there's a future hope for you, and that you haven't been brought to this place to be abandoned, you haven't been brought to this place to be buried, you haven't been brought to this place to be sacrificed, you have brought to this place to be given life and life in abundance. That's the promise, again and again and again. There is surely a future hope for you, and that hope will not be cut off. So, as we wrap up today on this first day of 2023 that we get a chance to spend some time together, I want to give you 3 ways to kind of maybe get out of irons if you find yourself there, to get out of your languishing. 3 things you can do. Because sometimes that just saying like pick up a new mark, you're like that's it's the right thing to do. But what it might actually look like is a whole other thing for each one of us. So I want to give you 3 things that you can actually do to help pick up the new mark, your new mark of 2023, your future hope. That not only you are holding, or that you just kind of happen to inhabit, but that God is holding for you, and that has brought you to bring greater and more wonderful life in the future. So the first is be gentle to yourself. I've been sailing before, and I've ended up in irons. I've done it. I've tried to tack the boat, and the boat didn't want to go around, and the sails are flapping, and the noise is going on, and the boat's going backwards, and everybody's looking at you. Like if you're sailing with other people, like it's an awful experience, and that being and languishing in life is an awful experience too. The first thing to do, that the first temptation, at least for me, is to be like, you're an idiot. What a horrible sailor you are. You're such a bad sailor. You should just stop sailing. You should just give up the whole thing. Like the first thing we can do is we can launch into all the things that we're not doing or all the mistakes that we've made. We can go back to 2022 and look at all the ways that we just screwed it up, or all the things that didn't come to pass that we had hoped for, all the ways we were disappointed. My invitation to you is actually be gentle with yourself and simply recognize where you are. That you don't have to keep score in your life. You don't have to keep all the things together that show all the ways in which you've failed, or all the ways in which you've been let down. You don't have to keep that ledger. You can let that go. You can just simply recognize the fact that you're in irons, and just recognize the fact maybe that you're languishing, and that's simply seeing it and giving yourself permission to see it. And not having to judge how good of a master of your life you have been, or how good of a disciple or not disciple you've been, how pure or great or goodness, whatever that the last year, or how much the coming year is going to suck because you sucked last year. You know that's not going to get you to the new tack. It's not going to get you to the new mark. And so I invite you. Just be gentle with yourself and recognize where you are. Recognize you have climbed great mountains in the past. You have 100% success rate of getting through all the things in your life because you're standing right here. You're listening to my voice right now. And that there is a hope and a future hope for you that God is holding for you. And that's not going to be cut off. You're not abandoned in it. And simply see it with some gentleness in your soul. The second thing is gather your tribe. There are people here who will journey with you. There are people here who will encourage you, no matter how many thousands of miles you might be away from them. Link up with other people who are in the fight of life with you. Whether it's a part of your church family or our church family here, or whether it's a part of people that you journey with in life. Bring other people into the fact that you haven't quite found your mark for 2023. That just that alone, get the fact that your sails are flapping, just that alone of gathering a few people and letting them into that sanctum sanctorum of our own kind of sense of maybe failure or languishing can do wonders. Because so often we can't see our own hope, not because it's so far away, but we can't see our own hope because it's so close, because God has placed it right inside of us. We can't see the hope that God has for us because it's so intimately entwined with who and what we are. And that simply sharing that and telling our story with a few other people can help us find our new mark for the next year. And lastly, which is the converse to this, is hear others' stories. Hear others' people. So whether there are people that you are now face to face, or whether they're people that you're online with, whether they're people you are in church with every Sunday, whatever, wherever they are. But slow down in your own gentleness and hear others' stories, because often in the hearing of another's story, hearing in the other's journey of languishing, or maybe they're crushing it, but simply to hear where other people are can help us orient. You know, if we're gonna travel the world, we're gonna travel it by the stars. We're gonna have stars overhead which are gonna help us navigate. And other people's stories can actually be these little lighthouses, these little lower lights that are illuminated for us as ways that we can begin to pick our way through. And so rather than because again, when we're languishing, when we're in the cockpit of our little boat and the sails are flapping and everything is noisy and crazy, when and we don't feel like we have the agency or the forward or the ability to move forward, when we're in that place, the last thing we want to do is bring somebody else into it, or the last thing we want to do is actually reach out beyond ourselves and hear them. But I would suggest to you that that's the very thing that will allow us to see the hope of the world. Nothing helps us find our own mark like hearing the story of somebody else that finds theirs. And even if you have to do it in a book, like I love this little book, Real Heroes. Like it's just a book of heroic stories. The romantic stories. This came from John, and it was a great gift. The romance of Arthur, to hear the ancient stories. Again, I've talked about the lives of the saints, butlers. Like, you don't even have to have another human being to hear the stories of the others. You simply have to open yourselves up to the stories that are. And by gosh, if the promise of the hope won't find its way to you, again, Proverbs 23:18. There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. Your hope will not be cut off, friends. God didn't bring you to this year to let you down. God brought you to this year to raise you up. Find your new mark for this year. Find your new hope. Find your new promise. Find your new way, find your new tack, and let the abundance of God make its home with you. All right, that's my hope for you on this new year that we find ourselves coming into. Peace and grace to you all. I am so glad that you are here with us, and that your journey is shoulder to shoulder with mine. Peace and grace, my friends, and we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.